Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Inland Empire Sports Talk, brought to you by BSN Sports. Today, we actually are going to pivot a little bit. Instead of talking to a coach, we're talking to the Rawlings rep, Steve. Steve, thanks for being here today.
Good to be here.
So, Steve, tell the folks at home a little bit about your background and Rawlings.
So, I've been with Rawlings almost 20 years now, and, specifically for this point, I've kind of grown up in the team business, whether it's working with leagues, schools, universities, junior colleges. I've grown up in the business. I came from a family sporting goods store, and then I've just kind of gone and grown with Rawlings. Rawlings is in St. Louis. I'm the local Southern California, and I do Vegas as well, both the retail and the team side, which is what we're here for. But like dealing with BSN, like dealing with coaches directly and kind of making things work. It's a service business. I mean, we're a known brand that makes people more confident, but it gets to be a service thing. If there's a problem, is it going to get taken care of? And that's kind of always what I say. When you get to deal with Rawlings, if there's a problem, which there always is going to be something. Anybody that says there's never a problem, they're fibbing. That's kind of what you get. So that's my background, kind of help solve problems, get in front of people. And then once, on the baseball and even the softball side, we're a preferred brand. I mean, you talk to a baseball coach and say, would you like to take a look at the latest and greatest from Rawlings? It's not too hard to get in there to kind of show them things.
Now, I really appreciate that about Rawlings specifically because they almost have that miracle on 34th Street. Like, if they don't have it or they don't do it well, you guys just tell us.
Correct.
Straight up.
Yep.
Also, just like we do, like, you're in a relationship business.
Yep.
We don't just sell jocks and socks. We solve problems. Like, that's our entire job.
Yep.
You can go to any mom and pop. You can go to anyone and buy a glove, a bat.
Yep.
You can buy sporting goods from anyone if everything's working.
That's correct.
Now, when you need an actual professional, that's when you start coming to us, or for most of our coaches, when they need ease. They want a one-stop shop.
For sure.
So that coach is like, hey, I want Nike shoes, I want Nike socks, but I want Rawlings gloves, Rawlings bats, Rawlings helmets.
Right. And even like on the uniform side, what a lot of people don't know, because it's kind of behind the scenes, is so Major League Baseball, they were all Majestic. Now they're all Nike whenever we hopefully get to keep playing it here. At the Major League level, we're the official ball, we're the official helmet. Ball, helmet, and what else am I forgetting here? I guess that's it. But at the minor league level, there's no contract. They can buy uniforms from, there's I think 5 or 6 different companies that they can. It's not a mandated thing. And we do over 65% of minor league baseball. And that's because it's good stuff, but it's also, they're no different than a high school coach or a college, JC, whatever level. They want to know, okay, it's quality, and am I going to get it on time? Because they're not ordering it, a year ahead of time. Some of these guys are human and they procrastinate, and they need to know. Our job is to tell them, hey, if you don't order it by this time, you're not going to get it on time. And that's fine. We don't need it for then. When are we going to have it? A lot of guys have a hard time saying that. A lot of companies will say what they need to hear to get the order, and then wear it on the backside.
Oh, yeah. You hear a lot of reps, oh, yeah, I can take care of it. And then all of a sudden they'll throw the company under the bus. Oh, well, it was in China, and it got stuck. You're like, okay, that may be an excuse right now because of coronavirus, may be true, and our supply chains are different. But realistically, we all know the timelines.
For sure.
And it's creating those realistic expectations.
It's our job. My job, because in some ways, I'm your facilitator. When you call and say, hey, these guys need uniforms, they need painted helmets, whatever it might be. Hey, we all want the business, but I've been doing this for a long time. And if you are short-sighted and you tell somebody what they need to hear to get that business, and then they don't get it on time or it's not right, and then you're not there to help fix it, then you're not back. But if you are there when there's a problem, then they're all, that's where people say, oh, I'm a Rawlings guy forever because of this. Because I have some schools that I've dealt with literally for 20 years almost. And every one of those is going to have a story of some type of a boo-boo. There's always the case.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's how you react in that time, and just having an honest conversation with people. Like, dude, the shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or I can do this, but we can't do this right now.
Yeah.
And I think too many people fall into that trap of, oh, I need this. Well, why do you need this? Nobody asks about the why.
Right.
They always want to talk about what, and we were talking about travel ball before we got on here, how, oh, well, this team has this, so we need it. Why?
Right.
Like, does that really work for you?
Right.
That may work for them, or they may have gotten a great deal because they know they know somebody else in the industry and got a deal that realistically no one else is.
Right.
And when we turn on the lights here, hopefully in the next few weeks, the world as we knew it in the sports realm is going to be very different.
Right. Right. And on the business side too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Rawlings, we try to be focused on what we are. I mean, and we are a baseball, softball company. Now, we do football, but we do football as kind of offshoot. We have clothing factories that need to keep busy on a year-round basis. So we make very good football uniforms. Now, to be fair, if you talk to a football coach and you say, what kind of football uniforms you want, you're not going to hear a football coach say, unless they're already using them, I need Rawlings uniforms. But when it comes down to it, we're there for when there's a need or a value play. But we focus on baseball, softball, always trying to make sure we're making the best ball, the best glove, the best uniforms, so that we don't get too spread out. We've done that in the past, but we are what we are. We're a baseball. If you say Rawlings to somebody, you think of what?
Yep, baseball.
Right, for sure. My first glove. Like if I meet somebody on a plane, the first thing they usually want to talk about, my first glove. My dad gave me this and that.
And everyone's like, oh, the old Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
I got that gold glove in the 6-finger web. When it came out, it was the hot thing.
Yeah. So it's the heritage of it is great. That's why it's, I'm lucky to work with Rawlings because it kind of gives everybody kind of that comfort level. The glove side of things, I always say that's kind of like the icing on the cake. If you can't sell Rawlings baseball gloves, there's probably an issue. But there's everything. There's a lot of competition out there, and everybody's kind of showing the latest and greatest. And Rawlings does a very good job, even though we're a heritage company, been around forever, of keeping up with the times, not just saying, well, we're Rawlings, we should get it because we're there.
Yeah, not being the cash cow of the industry.
Sure.
So obviously, we talked a little bit about football and all the uniforms. Rawlings uses dye supplementation, digital fusion, even tackle twill for obviously the more high-end leagues. We don't see it as much at the high school travel ball level. Talk to the folks at home a little bit about the different levels of uniforms and what the technology is and what's coming.
Yeah, so for us, I mean, whether it's football or baseball, there's kind of 3 different windows, really. One would be getting a stock garment, whether it's T-shirt, a blank baseball or football jersey, and then it's screen printed. And normally that's done at a local level. We don't even do screen printing anymore. We used to. It used to probably be 70% of our business. So that's kind of bucket 1. Bucket 2 is kind of the new bucket, which would be sublimation, okay? And at one point, sublimation was that was for soccer uniforms and some other categories.
Track.
Yeah, track and bicycling and, and as it's gotten better, when we got into it, we got into it to make sure, before we jumped, to make sure that you couldn't tell. I mean, for most part, sublimation is actually, it's all the same piece. It's a white piece of material that's dyed. So it's not going anywhere. It's a part of the garment. It doesn't add any extra stitches, doesn't add any extra weight. So on the football side, where everybody wants compression, and they need stretch, then if you're going to wear something tight, it has to stretch. It's actually the best way to go. For a long time, football coaches didn't want it because if you stretch the material, they called it grin through. You could see the white material behind that black jersey or the red jersey. We've almost eliminated that. There's some other companies that do a good job as well. So we always say, like, if a coach says, well, what's the best way to go? I say sublimation, just because you don't have that extra material there. We've also gone, it's surprising, baseball's super, super traditional. And even at the high school level, there's some coaches like, no, I want tackle twill. Tackle twill is where you have a garment, whether it's a stock piece or cut and sew, and you take another piece of material and it's sewn on. And it could be 3 levels of material, whatever. Now in baseball, we still probably do 60% maybe with twill on there, but the sublimation is catching up.
Yeah, and you see a lot of programs also like Vanderbilt that will do where it's tackle twill in the front, but then they have the micro mesh that's sublimated through the
Correct.
back for the numbers and names.
Correct. So we kind of say that we're a one-stop shop. We're a Ford, Chevy, and Honda, however you want to put it. Meaning we have stock garments that could be screen printed, aftermarket. We have a full sublimation aspects for football, baseball, softball, and then we also have the tackle twill. And that's kind of what makes us unique, because if I get in front of a coach or talking to somebody from BSN and they say, what do you think is the best? I'll give them my reasonings. But sometimes I just want what I want. And if we didn't have sublimation and tackle twill for baseball, there would be a percentage that we'd have to walk away from, because there's some guys that are like, I understand all that, but I want that sublimated piece, like what you say, Vanderbilt, that black with the gold pinstripe, but I want to put twill on top of it. I know it's going to be more, but that's what I want.
Yep. They want that traditional look.
Right.
But they still want lightweight. They want it vented a certain way. They want it to stretch.
Yeah. So that's the nice part for us is we kind of have the guns fully loaded, meaning, and we can kind of go out and kind of show them like good, better, best. And give them the options, but sometimes I just want what I want. Or I played in the minor leagues and we had twill. Now in the minor leagues, with all of the, I don't know if you pay attention to minor leagues, but some of the Star Wars jerseys and everything.
All the different nights they have.
Yeah, all of those crazy jerseys that you see, those are all sublimated. And what that's done is, some of these programs, the players are like, that's a lighter weight material than that white or that gray one we wear in the middle of summer. And all of a sudden, what that's doing on the minor league level, some of these programs are starting to do their traditional whites and grays in sublimated.
I think you also are seeing a lot of the kids are growing up
Right.
with the sublimation now, so you don't have those traditional values with nostalgia behind it.
Correct. So that's kind of, I'm not necessarily one of the persons that says, I think sublimation is just going to take over and it'll be the only thing that's out there. I think there's some purposes where twill will work still, but it's going to become 75% of our business.
Now, do you see a drop-off? Because I know I've heard from coaches all the time, well, the good old-fashioned tackle twill, it lasts longer. I've had the same jerseys for 10 years, and they...
Yeah.
But I also sit there going, you also had a jersey that was 2 millimeters thick.
Yeah,
for 10 years.
I've been around for a long time, and it used to be the heavier the better. Coaches wanted to touch something and go, oh, that's going to last. That's not the case anymore. Materials have kind of evolved so much where you can get a material that, I'm not talking about like a dry fit, because a dry fit's going to go. That's a one and done deal. But there's materials that we're using now, even for the tackle twill materials that are being sewn on, that it's not that heavy. They're not going to get cooked, and they'll last. Even on the twill, where if somebody wanted say tigers on the front, and they wanted 3-color, red, black, white. That was 3 levels of material that were sewn together and then sewn on the garment. That's extra weight, stiffness. Even now, the twill has progressed where we're sublimating the twill. So it's one piece of twill with 3 color. It's actually clearer, because actually every time you puncture a material, it gets a little bit, it's fractured a little bit. Also, the stitching can go. So if somebody says what's going to last the longest, I tell them sublimated, because you don't have that. You're not going to have frayed jerseys from guys that are, from that shortstop that's always on base diving in second.
Yeah, and one of the things I tell coaches all the time also is, frankly, it's easier to sublimate now than it is for tackle twill. There's more people doing sublimation.
For sure.
So you're talking 4 or 5 years from now, it's easier for me to recreate because I still have the file.
Right.
Sublimation.
It is easier. But like for us, at least now, maybe 5 years from now it'll be different. Sometimes coaches, if we just walked in and said sublimation is the way to go, if people have a choice, it's easier for them to make a decision. But if we're saying, well, we think sublimation is the only way to go, and that's why we're doing it, it gives them a reason. I think I'm going to look into the tackle twill. Yeah. If we can say, look, we can do this jersey this way, features and benefits, price, this way, features and benefits, price, then they make their decision and we move on down the road. Most coaches that I've dealt with, even the ones that have done tackle twill, will end up limping into sublimation, whether it's a late, senior only jersey or event jersey. And then they kind of see like, oh, unless I'm really like this close to it, nobody can tell the difference anyways.
Absolutely. And I know you'll see a lot of it, especially Oregon, with their 20 different uniforms.
Yeah.
And for the price point where you may have more of a traditional, especially for baseball. Like, okay, we have the very thick. We're not going to sublimate the pants.
Oh, no.
We're going to keep everything. But in softball, you see it everywhere. Same thing, you're seeing it a lot more in travel baseball. We were talking about Perfect Game off air a little bit. And some of the ways that they do, or All-American, NCTV, like the jerseys that I see on a given weekend are outstanding. I'm like, I would have never in my wildest dreams thought of that.
Well, these elite showcase tournaments, you know, these larger travel ball organizations, they'll definitely take their A program, whether they call it their gold team or whatever, and that's the one that they look like a minor league team walking out there. They look like Vanderbilt. They look like whatever. And it's different regions of the country. Some of them kind of dress down. I mean, but that's where you see it. You know, if you go to a travel ball tournament in Southern California, if it's not the highest of level, then you might just see guys out there with Rawlings pants on and a dry fit, or just a basic sublimated piece.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But that Perfect Game World, the Baseball Factory, their showcase deals. When they get the elite teams from Georgia and each part of the country, it looks like it's the College World Series.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love the College World Series, being a college umpire and seeing how things have just evolved in that world. Like, we used to all wear the Iron Man mask that made your head dip every single time. Now I have a titanium Rawlings mask that I wear all the time, and it's just the most comfortable thing in the world.
Right.
And it's amazing to see how we've changed and pivoted in baseball, the thing that never changed.
Yeah.
To all of a sudden, no, you need a wood bat, you need a leather glove. You had very strict sizing for everything.
Yeah.
And now we've kind of tipped it on its head, and people are trying different things all the time now.
Yeah.
To the point where I was talking with Greg Maddox at UNLV earlier this season, and how he was joking that his son now has a Rawlings glove that doesn't have a spot for his hand to come out because it's more aerodynamic. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, he lives off of his changeup. What does he need to be aerodynamic for?
Look, we've got, I mean, at Rawlings, I think it's great. As somebody that worked for Rawlings for quite a while, left for a few years and then came back, we've got, you know, everybody thinks like, we sell jock straps. That's what I always say. People always say, what do you do? And I say, I sell jock straps. But I mean, if you saw behind the curtain at Rawlings and the amount of engineers and these guys that could be building rockets, but are engineering the next level of bat and glove and even bags, and just all of the process and the R&D that's behind most everything, it's crazy. And most people don't think about, it's sporting, it's baseball. It's not like that. Even the materials, one of our top selling pants, it looks just like a regular pant, white or gray, but it's got 8% spandex in it, so we're able to make it lighter weight, so it's not so heavy, but it also stretches, so if you're a catcher or pitcher, somebody that's getting up and down, it moves with you. And the coach, like, you know, coaches kind of have that gut like here. They say it feels like pajamas. Well, it looks no different. It costs maybe just a little bit more, but not a lot. And once a guy gets into that never changed.
Oh yeah. I mean, I joke with one of my best friends all the time. I'm like, I just wear adult pajamas all day.
Right.
With the way that some of the sporting material is, especially now with the golf pants.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's kind of the idea, yeah.
It's male yoga pants, basically.
Right.
What all of us get to wear.
And that's kind of what, on this baseball pant, that's kind of the same thing. Like, it doesn't have to be heavy and grainy and all that kind of stuff to last. It doesn't work that way.
The antiquated ways of old are starting to die away.
Yeah.
So what themes are you seeing that, A, you think are going to kind of fade out, or B, also what themes that are starting to come up in fashion or trends that you hope take off in baseball?
I mean, you know, in some cases, what's old is going to be new. I mean, what I was doing when I was a kid is now what my son, who's 14 years old, playing freshman baseball, is thinking that's the coolest thing ever because he's never seen it. And that's, you know, stirrups. Like, instead of the long pajama pants, these kids, you know, we sell up and down and whatever. But, you know, the idea of showing stirrups and having the choice of, well, maybe we'll get a solid stirrup, maybe we'll get one with a 3-stripe, that whole thing. So it's just, even though it's not new to me, it's new to the player now, and it seems like everything comes back around. I always use the analogy of in the skate business, the skate business brought back the old snap front windbreaker before the skate business said that was cool, that was the only person that was wearing that was the PE coach that was 78 years old out there. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, that came back around. The skate crew got that, and now that snap front is cool for the surf and skate business.
Well, I mean, you look at Bill Belichick and his cut-off hoodie,
and
everyone originally was like, that looks so weird, and now all of a sudden it's trending everywhere.
Yeah, for the baseball and softball, it's a fine line. We can push the envelope. Like I tell everybody, like if you want us to make a NASCAR god-awful looking jersey, we can do it. And there's the fringe, like I kind of use the Diamondbacks, the way what they did with the uniforms. Mm-hmm. It got out a little outside the box, and some people think that's kind of cool, and some people think like that looks like a slow pitch team. I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But we've kind of got it all. I don't think that's the way that things are going to go, like too crazy. But everybody kind of pushes it a little bit. But there's different things. Like you're going to see some different. You're starting to see different colors. It used to be a traditional gray and white. Now, pinstripes are back. Pinstripes were dead for 10 years. Nobody wanted pinstripes. Mm-hmm. Colored pants. I mean, if you're out on the field, like I've got high school teams that are going solid red. Mm-hmm. Vegas High School, where Bryce Harper went to.
Like Louisville's doing that right now.
Yeah, so Vegas High School in Las Vegas, they just, it's red pant, red jersey with the black panel down the side. It kind of looks like the old Phillies. Mm-hmm. Instead of light blue, they're using red kind of stuff. Because what these coaches that have been doing it for a long time, they get bored of I don't want just white and gray and then an alternative jersey of black. Mm-hmm. What else can we do that's not going to make us look like we're playing beer league softball?
Well, I think the other thing that a lot of coaches ask me about is like, okay, if I can get quality pants, what is the best quality pant? Yep. And now I can have 2 or 3 tops.
That's right.
To try to mix and match off of that. I think that's also something that we're finding a lot more versus the old school. But I have one home.
No, for sure.
One away.
Yeah, that's why the pinstripes. I always say, like, when a coach says, I'm looking for something different, I already have a set of whites, but I've got some money, I'm up for some uniforms. I kind of say, like, what about pinstripes?
Yeah, mixing textures a little bit.
Because you can do pinstripe. If you're dark green, you can do white, dark green. You can wear it with the white, dark green pin. You can wear it with the dark green top. There's a lot of different ways you can go. So, yeah, you kind of mix and match.
And you see a lot of coaches right now also doing, like, the blackouts.
Yeah,
and kind of doing that Darth Vader matte black look going.
Yeah. We have another color that still it got real hot a few years ago. The darker gray, the graphite we call it. Mm-hmm. But it's still that's kind of become. If you go out to some of the perfect game deals and even minor league baseball and the college side, you're going to see graphites become the second gray color. Mm-hmm. Really, there's the regular baseball gray, graphite, and then white.
I think now also with the technology finally catching up, because I remember. It was cool to wear black pants, but it was sucked in August.
Right.
To try to wear black pants.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, with all the venting, with all the micro mesh that you're talking about, like it makes life easier to have those colors be more acceptable.
Right. Because the materials, especially at the higher levels, if it's, yes, is black going to hold the heat more than a white? That's true. But on the performance materials, it's pretty...
Yeah, I mean, as an umpire, it was always, you always wear blue when it was hot.
Right.
Or we had cream at one point. But then you didn't want to wear black. Because I'm like, honestly, with the way that these shirts are made right now,
it doesn't
matter. And I'm the one standing out there for 4 freaking hours.
Right.
So it's like, trust me, if I could stand out here in a black shirt freaking wearing complete body armor underneath, y'all can wear black pants and be just fine.
Yeah.
One thing that obviously has been changing a lot is... Andy Ramirez came out with his bright blue and red glove. Mm-hmm. You've seen a lot more, I want to call them tassels, with all the paraphernalia coming off. What do you see trend-wise in gloves coming out?
Yeah, gloves are pretty interesting, especially for a traditional company like Rawlings. It's super interesting. So for that teenager, most of those kids that are playing travel ball, like if you go to a high school game, what I always say, if you go to a high school game in Southern California, it's all high level baseball here. This is the place. But if you look at the middle infielders, you're not going to see a solid black glove or a solid tan glove. It's going to have some color, some sizzle on it. And so instead of what we used to do is we used to just roll out gloves. Okay, these are the 2021 series of gloves. and then the new ones will be out a year from now. We basically come out with a spring, summer, fall, and then some special limited editions that come out throughout to keep it fresh. Because the glove business used to be you had your glove for 3 or 4 years, but you got a bat all the time, right? There's a new bat, right? Now it's different. Kids are getting gloves almost every year.
Well, especially now, like I remember before, you put the softball in your glove, you'd wrap it with lanolil, wrap it up, chuck it under your mattress, throw it in the dryer if your mom would let you to get the heat going.
Yep.
And now, it seems like gloves, you can almost break them in within a weekend.
In the world that we live in today, the way I tell everybody is, everybody wants it now. Everybody's in a hurry. And the idea of breaking in a glove is, if it's that stiff, if they're actually in a baseball store and they're putting their hand in it, the idea, except for a catcher's mitt, that's a whole different deal. It's got to be almost ready to go. Everybody kind of understands at the upper level, if it's a rag right now, it's going to break. It's going to be gone. But our gloves, most of our gloves that we're selling now, the hottest things that we're selling, our Heart of the High gloves are broken 50% more than what they were even 5 years ago. And that's the way of the world. Now, at the pro level, just kind of like what we talked about on the uniform side, that these kids have to get used to the sublimation. These kids that are playing, they didn't grow up doing that. They didn't grow up breaking in gloves. That's foreign language. Now, the pro guys, they did.
Yeah.
So when we go out to spring training, in some cases, if that glove's kind of soft and almost ready to go, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So we have a pro department, and it gets to be a fine line. Well, the pro department said we need to keep stiff gloves, but the marketplace of travel ball and high school, that's not. People want to order the pizza and have it in 30 minutes.
Well, most of your pros also are getting measured as soon as the season's done. They're getting their stuff. They're taking 2 to 3 months to break it in.
For sure.
So then that way they can, and they see what 2021 was this last spring training.
So on the gloves, what we're seeing, back to your deal, is we're seeing more and more custom gloves. We have a glove builder that kids can go in and basically customize not only colors, but patterns, webs, laces, and now it's materials. We've got different materials, everything from kind of an old school a mesh back, like Yadier Molina used to use on his catcher's mitt, to some more sophisticated, lighter weight materials and leather that look leather-like, that take some weight out of the glove, but still keep the durability that we have in our Heart of the Hide or Pro Preferred lines. So they've got different materials to choose from, different colors, it's kind of like a build-your-own car deal. And that's what we're seeing. You can order a custom glove on our website and receive it in 6 weeks exactly how you want. And you have your choice of firm, traditional, or soft. And you can imagine that it's basically a traditional and soft. I tell everybody, if you want to spend some time and really break that glove in, go ahead and go for it. But if you're not sure, go with traditional. If you're going to want to use it in a month, you get the soft. It's the same materials. All we're doing at the factory is just working it more. That's all.
I think that's really important because we get asked by coaches all day, hey, is there my guys have gloves, but is there deals on gloves? Can the rep come out? Because I was remiss where I had no idea. I literally made fun of a third baseman, which I shouldn't have done, at the Division I level because he had a 13-inch. I'm like, what in the name of Troy Gloss are you doing? Your meats your hands are not that big.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I'm so used to seeing the 11 and a quarter, 11 and a half, and I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So, a lot of coaches ask, okay, they hear the old school common sense. Okay, you have an I-web, you have a T-web, the different styles for middle infielders.
Yep.
What do you do when you have coaches ask you those questions or parents ask you those questions? What type of gloves should my kid have?
Well, so at the younger level, one of the biggest things is it depends on what area of the world you're working in, but at the younger level, the biggest problem that most people have, if they have a little bit of money, they want to buy their kid too good of a glove. They want to buy them a Heart of the Hide glove from Rawlings because that's what I played ball with. I want to get him now. I'm like, your son's 9 years old.
Yeah, his hand can't even close it.
He's not. He's going to hate it. It's not like, even if you try to break it in, it's not going to work. So at the young level, sometimes it's buying too good of a glove. I always used to use my example, like my son didn't have that. No, like you would have never known. I worked for Rawlings. He wore Rawlings stuff, but he was using the less expensive stuff that was made for kids' hands and that was soft and ready to go. So at the young level, that's the biggest mistake. Or the typical, I want to get it kind of big. Mm-hmm. Just like, I want to get their shoes kind of big,
so they can wear it for a few years.
And I say that's not going to work. They're not at the balls. The glove's already a foreign object on these kids. You get one that's too big, it's more foreign, and the ball's falling out, and they're going to hate baseball. So you can't do it. It's the same with a bat. Mm-hmm. Like I always say, if you're not sure on a bat, go to the smaller size. Always, because that's, again, a bigger, heavier, faster. The parents that haven't been around, it doesn't. I mean, yes, for the bigger travel kids and the bigger high school kids and the bigger college kids, for sure that's the way it is. But that's the small percentage.
Well, I mean, if you can't get a bat around, then you're not going to have bat speed. You're not going to have leverage on the ball anyway.
Right.
And if his hands can't put the ball in a three-dimensional space where it's supposed to be, great. You're just throwing an oar out there.
Right. So on the glove side of things, at the higher levels, it's, for our colleges, like San Diego State uses all of our stuff on the equipment side. Those kids get whatever they want.
Yeah, Mark does a great job down there.
Yeah, it's awesome program. But, everything ebbs and weaves, meaning 5, 6, 7 years ago, everybody, the catcher's mitts, though, the fad was to go small. I need to get it small so you can get it out. And then it kind of started going big, and now it's kind of middle. So it went all the way from what we would call like a 32-inch up to a 34-inch, and now it's 32 and a half, 33 is kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. And at the infield glove side, there was a time where, second baseman's you got to go small because you got to turn and burn 11 and a quarters. And we still do sell a fair amount of 11 and a quarters. But on that side, most of them are like, okay, you're not good enough. You need to just 11 and a half will be fine. And shortstops, 11 and a half, 11 and 3/4. And then to your point on third base, at the high school level, you're going to see that kid with 11 and a half because he can do any position on the infield with that.
Absolutely.
But 12 is kind of the high point, down to 11 3/4, 11 and a half.
Yeah, I try to tell everyone, work to the lowest common denominator and be utilitarian. So you have an economy of parts.
Right.
Because I saw one kid at a perfect game this last summer. He had 5 gloves.
Well, I was just going to say
I'm
that. But that's not that different. I mean, honestly, even if you forget about the perfect game and you just walk out to a ball diamond here in Southern California for a travel ball tournament, you trip whatever it is, and eat anything from 11U up, I guarantee you, if you just kind of watch them stand, they're all going to have 2 bats, and they probably the majority of them are going to have at least 2 gloves, an infield and an outfield glove. And if that kid plays first base, he's got a first base glove. And what about if he catches? Mm-hmm. It gets crazy. I kind of would always tell the parents, look, at the younger levels, you don't need 2 gloves. When they start getting to be around that, if you want to get an infield and an outfield specific, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But the multiple glove thing, that's kind of a new thing that, 5 years ago, that wasn't a thing. Get your glove and go get through high school with it, and away you go. But you look at these bags, these kids that have been playing travel ball, the catcher, the guy that catches a little bit, he's got his own mitt, he's got his own gear. Mm-hmm. He might play first base a little bit, but he might get thrown at third base. And what about if he goes in the outfield? Well, that's 4 gloves.
Yep. And they're wearing backpacks that are larger than that.
Yeah, so I try not to be the old guy because it's a different world. It's a very specialized world that we live in. Mm-hmm. So the kids grew up in that. Parents are sometimes pushing them into that. Well, if you might play third base, we got to get you a third baseman's glove. Mm-hmm. If you might play outfield, well, we better get you a glove in the outfield. You caught one time last year, we better get you your own mitt. Mm-hmm. Just the way
I've told, when I was at Sports Lay before BSN, I would tell parents all the time, look, for as much as you're going to spend on this bat or these gloves, go buy a tee. Mm-hmm. Go buy a net. Go get a broomstick at freaking Home Depot, cut it down to the right size, put some tape around, and go grab a box of nickels. Now I'm going to sound like the old guy in the room. Yeah. But it's true. So many people will spend on the new greatest thing. We obviously have a huge run on guns right now across this country because people are scared. Right. Well, okay, you have all these people that are buying guns. Are they trained?
No.
And it's the same thing in sports. If you're not training, because practice makes permanent, and if you're not trying to continue to get better in what you're doing, then okay, I would rather sell you a tee, a net, and a bunch of stuff for you to actually train in, some fitness equipment, because we had Coach Ball in here earlier talking about working out and getting some speed.
The hard part,
spend you $300 on a glove.
Well, the hard part on the parent side is sometimes it's easier. Just I'm gonna go buy him something, give it to him, and I can walk away. That's the easy button. I can buy it, but the time is the hard part. And what we're dealing with right now with COVID, when we get through this, whether there's summer ball or not, worst case, I hope fall ball, it's gonna be night and day. Some of these kids that were the superstars out there because they were bigger, faster, stronger, they're not getting their reps in their garage. They're not throwing a ball against the wall or doing it, hitting off a tee. And this is I call it, this is a reset. I hate the COVID thing, but it's a reset for business. And these players, the kids that are still figuring out a way to work out and stay in shape. And in baseball, it's a repetition. It's no different than figuring out a way to continue hitting golf balls or anything that's repetition based. And when we get through this, you're going to be able to tell these kids that have not picked up a bat, have not thrown a ball.
Oh yeah, baseball is always going to be a game of failure, and you're just exponentially making that failure even a larger target on your back.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to wrap up here because we ran over again. Happens, especially when you get two sports guys talking. One big thing for at home. What would you tell the travel ball parents, the coach for the high school team, the coach for the college, and any athlete out there right now? What would be the one thing that you would tell them during this time?
Just to try to stay focused. I mean, it's the same thing. I have a 14-year-old son, and I get distracted, and I'm an old guy. Is to try to, when you have downtime, think of what you could be doing, and then just do it. I tell my son, just do something. We all get kind of like, my normal day is different now than it had been. But if I feel like if I'm just doing something like this, I've never done a podcast before. I've never done Zoom meetings before. All this, just do something. Sometimes I feel like it was worthwhile. Sometimes I feel like whatever. But as long as you keep doing something, because otherwise, if you don't, then tomorrow becomes the following week, and all of a sudden you realize I haven't done anything for a month, and then all of a sudden you're in a rut. So I tell my son, just go. Like, I know you're not going to be able with your pack of guys. Go for a run. Take the dog. Go for a run. Go ride your bike. Heaven forbid. All by your lonesome.
Heaven knows we can't go to a beach right now.
Yeah, just do something. I mean, so that's what I don't have the answer for any of this stuff, but I try to do something every day, both work-wise, and when I run out of that, I try to have something else to do. And for my son and his buddies, I tell them, just do something so that when you guys can get together, you're hopefully ahead of the curve. That's all.
Perfect. Well, appreciate it, Steve.
Yep.
Again, everyone, this has been Inland Empire Sports Talk, presented by BSN Sports. My name is Mike. And if you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you have a travel ball team, if you're a high school coach, if you just want to come and talk sports with us, we also have umpires, ADs, equipment managers, obviously reps now. So get in touch with us. The email is on the podcast. And everyone, God bless. Be safe.
Thanks.